Welcome, one and all, to V8's Online this beautiful Wednesday night, 14th of March, 2018. We're back for the Oceanic Sprint Championship, one of the premier GT racing leagues in the iRacing Oz NZ community. We're staying in the United Kingdom this week. After last round at Silverstone, we move on to Donington Park, which is the polar opposite of Silverstone in many ways. It's narrow, it's got elevation changes, it's very twisty. My name is Reese Gardner. Joining me in the commentary box is Brock Cat-Eye once again. Brock, time to go racing at Donington, and it's looking like a really fun round already.
Yeah, good evening everyone. Good to be back. And yeah, it is. Donington, we've got the Grand Prix circuit here, not the national circuit, so that throws in an extra hairpin to confuse the drivers a bit with the chicane there too. So it'll be interesting to see how they all tackle that and how they get the move on, because here it's a bit harder to actually throw it down the inside with a lot of the turns being one line only. So be keen to see how these guys manage it, and we've got a fairly large field tonight here, so keen to see these guys go racing, Reese.
Yeah, certainly. We're back to one split tonight because the numbers that turned up justified it. So everyone who is competing in the championship at the moment can be seen in this broadcast. In Donington Park, I tell you what, I actually have been looking forward to this round quite a bit because we saw at Silverstone with the new balance of performance between the GT3 cars. We saw who was who around Silverstone, and it looked like the Audi was definitely the car to have, with Craig Edwards pulling off a fantastic lights to flag victory. But here at Donington Park, it's almost as though it's the entirety of Sector 3 at Silverstone stretched over one lap. It's got some fast turns, but it's also got plenty of medium and slow speed ones as well, and you don't get much time to rest around here, do you?
No, not at all. And like you said, it's the Silverstone Sector 3 extended. So these guys, they have to deal with some fast winding corners, but also some very tight ones that the car has to be hooked up beautifully with a lot of grips. So just looking now, we've still got a nice variety of cars in here. Peacenik is obviously still driving that Ford GT. You brave man, that. But he's going to continue on right now at the top of the practice times. I'll be interested to see how these guys go here, and it's always interesting to see how the different strengths and weaknesses play out when we come to different tracks. That, as we saw last time at Silverstone, certain cars like the BMW were faster in those twisty sections than the likes of the Mercedes, but the Mercedes pulled away on the straights. So we'll see how that all plays out tonight with that more of a twisty nature to the circuit.
Yeah, certainly. Of course, Donington Park, one of the oldest still operating racetracks in Europe, and I think the second permanent circuit to be built in Britain after Brooklands. Donington first, of course, rising to prominence in the 1930s, stitched together from a bunch of old carriage tracks on the property of Donington Hall is this place. And of course, it's changed quite a bit over the years. There's a lot less trees now, and there's some more permanent sections built, but it still retains that character, especially at the start of the lap, through Redgate, the Craner Curves, and the Old Hairpin, all the way up to Coppice. It's a fantastic piece of racetrack, and it's one that, as said, you can't really set up a pass through. So these first laps are really going to be interesting. But Reese Gasul in car 444, he's currently sitting down a little bit in the practice time sheets, but he has pole for this race, and he'll be looking to get as good of a getaway as he can for that very short run up to Redgate Corner. That's
exactly it, Reese. And Reese Gasul has been performing quite well in the series. We've seen him out at Bathurst, and he had quite a bit of speed there. So he'll be hoping to back that up here at Donington tonight and really push home and hopefully take a win. We do have Dane Warren, Anthony Winkleman, a few John Peacenik as well, a few bigger names in here that have shown they have pace over the course of the series and in other series as well. But Reese has put it up on pole there, and I'm fairly sure the conditions are fairly similar to the practice and qualifying. So these guys, they haven't got any surprises that get thrown at them. They're just going to have to deal with the heavier fuel levels. Sorry.
Yes, indeed. Speaking of the conditions, it's partly cloudy out there, afternoon conditions, 18-degree air temperature and 31-degree Celsius track temperature. So it's not ridiculously hot, but there's still a bit of warmth in there to keep the drivers on their toes, give them a little bit of slipperiness to work with. But of course, there won't be much trouble in these GT3 cars. Of course, they're designed to be easy to drive, and for anyone to be able to drive them, Of course, that doesn't mean that it's easy to be successful in these things, as a lot of the drivers have proven over the course of this series. Well, practice is now over after proceedings have concluded, and now we go over into the race session. So we'll take this opportunity as they they're actually gridding up on the run up to the chicane before the Melbourne hairpin, so we won't have much time. Reece Gasul is on pole with Anthony Winkleman in second, Forzan El Nabi in third, Craig Edwards lines up in fourth, rounding out the top five, Jacob Schooley, Ross Rizzo lining up in sixth place, Adam Briggs in seventh, John Peasnick in the Ford GT is eighth, Martin Silvassi ninth, and rounding out the top 10 is Mad Cow Racing's Leighton Fine.
And in 11th place, we've got ASM's Dane Warren and his brother Ethan Warren in 12th place. Philip Worley is 13th. Thomas Hinz is 14th. Joshua Skin, 15th. Cameron Dance, 16th. Scott Sislowski, 17th. Dan King, 18th. Mark Simon in 19th. And Jeremy Washington in 20th.
In 21st, Matt Morris for Proforce Racing. Continuing to stick it out in that McLaren, Benjamin Johnson in 22nd with Shannon Mason in 23rd, Reece Keane 24th, Daniel Misdale in 25th, Mark Hagaratz in 26th place, Richard Hunter 27th, James McKee lining up 28th, 29th Edward Morgan, Damon Stockton rounding out the top 30, and then the last four cars on the grid, Brenton Hawkins, Neil De Bruyne, Ricky Cornwall, and Aaron O'Brien. That is your 34-car field for this round of the Oceanic Sprint Championship at Donington Park, and they're gearing up to get going. The safety car leading them down to the Melbourne hairpin as we speak. And now I'm very interested to see how this first lap goes, Brock, because let's just reiterate, this track is quite narrow, so it's going to be interesting seeing jostling for position on the first lap.
Yeah, there's a lot of cars here tonight. We've got 34 cars out there, and it's tight. Like you said, there is basically a single line through most of these corners here. So they're going to have to figure themselves out pretty quickly or else risk bombing out of the race. And we have got the green flag now, and it looks like they've walked a bit in the back of the pack there, as there are people still coming around the last corner there. So they're going to lose out a little bit. Already in single file towards the back of the pack. Reece Gasul has gotten a brilliant start out the front there as they come through turn one.
Oh, we got a car around. Sorry, Brock. That is Leighton Fine, and we've also got a TTL Esports car out in the gravel trap as well. That's Cameron Dance as well. So already two cars with not the optimal start. We also saw Ross Rizzo taking some avoiding action out on and Edwards, Craig Edwards on the grass as well, coming up to Old Hairpin. So it's turned out to be quite a dramatic start so far. Oh, another car off. Who is that? It's a Mercedes.
Jeremy Washington.
Oh, wow. Okay, so not much space to move around on this circuit. We've got to make sure that everyone gets through this cleanly. Dan King suffering some issues as well, coming up to Coppice. I think he's got a slowdown.
Yeah, I think that's correct there. He's slowed up quite a bit, and these guys are still all bustling for position side by side on the back straight as they all try to sort themselves out. They're looking for moves here. Cameron Dance is going down the inside there. Yeah, these guys, they're playing for keeps, and we're on lap one of a 45-minute race here, brother.
We certainly are. Forzan El Nabi facing some issues as well. I think he had a slowdown on the way down to the Melbourne hairpin, so he's lost a couple of positions as well. We've got some big moves in the background, though. Craig Edwards, and just behind him, we've got Martin Silvassi and Reece Keane. Oh, goodness. And this corner here, as we see going wide in the background, that's Mark Simon. But that last turn at Donington Park, it really narrows up towards the end of the corner. So if you want to get a pass done there, you've got to get it done early. Unfortunately, it looks like Reece Keane is going to have to slot back in behind for another lap. He's facing some pressure from Daniel Misdale, though.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and that's the problem at this track, is that there's nowhere to pass probably in this first sector, the two sectors. So you kind of just got to sit there and hope you can find an opportunity in that last sector with a couple of dive bombs along the way. But Misdale's got bigger problems with, he's got Dance coming behind him, and I think we've got somebody in a golden car ahead of Dance there. Not sure who that is.
That's oh well, I think that's Reece Keane just up ahead of them. But
we've got Reece Gasul and Anthony Winkleman very close at the moment. So Gasul's held his pole position, is currently out front, but Winkleman is not letting him run away with Winkleman in the Trick Motorsports BMW GT3 tonight, showing that the BMW has come back a little bit in terms of its speed in the GT3. So
Yes,
he's going to
certainly.
stay there behind for the time being, Reese.
Yeah, he is. And I recall what you said about just waiting for an opportunity. Winkleman will definitely be waiting for any opportunity that he can to send one up the inside, but I don't know if it'd be too smart to go for a move this early on. We've only just started lap 3 here at Donington Park, and it looks to me like Winkleman, well, the BMW is traditionally the corners car, while the Mercedes is the straight line speed car. But that's going to have a stalemate for now. Dane Warren and John Peasnick battling now. Looks like Dane just got through on him through the old hairpin.
Yeah, Dane's he's having a mega start to this race. He's already made up 6 positions in these very early stages, only on lap 3 here at the moment. So he is carving his way through the pack, potentially highlighting the way the BMW aero package and the car itself works on these tighter tracks with the more of a emphasis on cornering as opposed to the straight line.
Yeah, certainly. He was able to get through on Peasnick at Redgate, but yeah, Peasnick, despite the fact that he is sticking it out in the Ford GT and he's put in some fantastic performances, you can still see that he is struggling slightly in that car. You saw through the chicane there, he was struggling a little bit with, looked like a bit of the front end hopping. So he's got to be careful, Peasnick, because he's got plenty of drivers behind him, all wanting to take that position. One of which is Forzan El Nabi. He's going pretty quick. But back to the lead here. Reece Gasul going defensive against Anthony Winkleman. Oh, have a look at how deep Winkleman goes under brakes, but he's unable to get the move done. He's got the over-under, though. They're going to go side-by-side through Craner curves. No. Gasul promptly squeezed the door shut. So Winkleman's going to have to stay behind once again. But you can tell as Gasul, oh, he's struggling a little bit with the handling of that car. I have the feeling that we might have a pass on soon.
Yeah, Winkleman is all over the back of him at the moment, and you can see he's hunting for any opportunity to get by him. He just can't quite find it, and Gasul is struggling. He's pushing the car, potentially overdriving, and he's wiggling coming down into some of the corners here, trying to brake as late as possible. Well, Winkleman he's just all over the back of him and not making any silly moves to take both of them out, but just biding his time. He knows that an opportunity will present itself, and he doesn't do anything silly. Dane Warren's just lost a spot there to John Peasnick. I'm just trying to find out exactly where that was.
Yeah, that's obviously not optimal from Dane. Looks like that is a very...
slowdown.
Yeah, that's very weird. Yeah, very late clearing of a slowdown, I suppose, because it didn't seem like he cut the course in those last couple of corners. Either way, we're going back live, bringing live pictures to you now. Tell you what, this battle for the lead, I get the feeling we might have a third, even a fourth player soon, because Jacob Schooley and Adam Briggs are looming in the background of this lead battle.
Yeah, and we saw Schooley and Briggs both ended up in the top 10 last round, as well. So they showed some good speed in those Audi GT3s, and Gasul is probably holding up the pack a little bit here in terms of got Winkleman behind him and Schooley and Briggs coming up behind them. So the sooner that Winkleman gets past, the sooner he'll be able to extend his lead. But this is good to see. In the last couple of races, we've seen the leader or first and second place sort of skip away from the pack and not much battling. So it's great to see this level of competition between first, second, and what is looking soon to be third and fourth as well.
Yeah, and 3 different makes in this top battle at the moment, which is really good to see. We got a Mercedes, a BMW, and 2 Audis. Really awesome stuff. Going through this chicane, have a look at that. You can tell that Winkleman is much more comfortable than Gasul. Oh, he's going defensive. Have a look at that. Winkleman squeezing through on the outside, but he won't be able to get it done there. He has got a bit of traction though, so he hasn't been. He actually hasn't lost that much relative to Gasul, and he's really getting racy now as Anthony. Have a look at the way he's just searching for any gap possible, and you can tell Gasul is very much driving with his mirrors, which is compromising his pace. Let's see how they go down to Redgate. Side by side. There we go. Winkleman's going to try and do the over-under again, and this time he gets it done. But will Gasul be able to defend? No. So Winkleman takes the lead on the exit of turn 1. Fantastic move.
That was a great move there, using the switchback. He knew exactly what he was doing and just threw it up the inside there. He tried to do something similar but got the door shut on him a couple of laps ago. So now he's gotten that to work. I'm guessing his plan is going to be to try and skip away a little bit here. Gasul's trying to stick with him. I've noticed Winkelmann's very good under brakes. He can brake quite late, especially into the chicanes and the hairpins, and still pull it up. So he's done well, and that's probably where quite a bit of this pace is going to come. That's always also probably going to... it's also going to help him when somebody tries to overtake him. He can brake later than them, and then they won't be able to actually outbrake him into that corner without locking up and going flying by.
Yeah, certainly, if they don't have ABS enabled at least. But the one thing that that Gasul needs to watch out for is overworking his tyres at this point, as Winkelmann ran a little wide in the hairpin, but he's managed to keep it together. Yeah, Gasul, he doesn't want to overdrive his car, because you can see Jacob Schooley's catching him at a rate of knots here. It's going to be interesting when they eventually come together, because, well, Winkelmann will obviously want them to battle a bit so he can extend this gap that he already has. But yeah, I don't know, man. Reece Gasul, if he wants to keep in contention here, I think he needs to calm down his driving just a little.
Yeah, he's slipping and sliding a little bit, and as we've seen, he's wiggling here and there as well. He's got to stop overheating those tyres, and we've got to remember that we do have a pit stop in this race, but tyres are done separately to fuel. So basically, tyres are a big no-no in a race as small as this, because you waste too much time. So if you burn your tyres now, you are going to be in a very bad situation come the last 10 minutes of this race after your pit stop. And I think, like you said, he's just got to cool it off a little bit, think about... He's done the practice and everything, and now he just needs to go lap by lap. As we're hearing, Dane is back on the back of Peasnick here after his slowdown, and he's also got Forzan Olnabi right up behind him too.
Yeah, so this is another three-way battle forming for 5th, 6th, and 7th, and let's have a look at the body language of these cars. Peasnick using minimal steering input, but he's you can tell he's sort of struggling just a little with that Ford. Meanwhile, Dane in that BMW was looking nice and smooth, and El Nabi is just looming in the background there. You can see he's searching a little bit. Oh no. Oh no, that is not good at all. That's Brenton Hawkins. He was down in position at 32, and now he's stopped in the middle of the last turn, just waiting for the field to go by. Let's have a look at how that happened to him. We got a replay on screen. Looks like he was in the process of letting some cars by, but oh no, he went right into the side of Jacob Schooley. Oh my goodness.
That's not good. Schooley's he was doing pretty well up the front there, so Briggs has obviously gotten him now, and I'm just having a look to see how much damage Schooley actually has. The left-hand side of his car looks to be a bit banged up, but other than that, nothing too bad on his end.
Alright, well, still, that's obviously not what you want to see. As we go back live, Brenton Hawkins, it seems like he just forgot to brake for the last turn.
Yeah, that's it. Unfortunately, also being in that situation as a lapped car, you've kind of got to not get in the way of those faster cars trying to come through and get through without hitting you equally. So it's unfortunate to see, and just a bit of miscalculation, unfortunately.
Yes, indeed. But nonetheless, the race still goes on. Schooley is still in 4th place after that little mishap. Unfortunately for him, he's going to have to start watching his mirrors, because Peasnick, Warren, and El Nabi are starting to make headway.
They definitely are, and El Nabi's right on the back of Warren, who's right on the back of Peasnick. And I think for Warren and El Nabi, again, it's that situation that Winkelmann had with Gasul, is trying to find a way past. And we've got Cameron Dance and Shannon Mason having a battle here at the moment, as Dance is going up the inside of Mason into turn 1, but Mason's going to try gather around the outside there, but Dance looks to have the inside line coming down the hill here. Can Mason hold it around? He got a little bit of a wiggle there, and he's going to try put it up the inside, and he's trying to stick with him, but it looks like Dance is going to hold that position for the time being. But has a big slide there off onto the grass as Mason goes back by. That was immense there. He nearly lost that into the wall.
Wow. And I tell you what, that is one of the reasons why Donington is so challenging. It's that section alone. Craner curves coming into Old Hairpin. Of course, Hairpin is a bit of a misnomer. It's more of a sweeping right-hander, but you get the car even slightly wrong on the entry, you carry it all the way through, and unfortunately, that's what happened to Cameron Dance. So Mason doesn't have to worry about Dance's orange TTL Esports Audi for some time anyway. But on board with Dane Warren, I'm hearing. No? Philip Worley, sorry. Philip Worley and Ethan Warren. Apologies for my lack of hearing comprehension. These guys are having a little battle of their own.
Yeah, Ethan Warren driving the McLaren. Again, another brave move. That car takes a very particular driving style, and much like the Ford GT, to milk the speed out of it. Saying that, he is in 11th spot, so I think he's where he started, or a position up on that at the moment, with Scott Zazowski, one of his teammates, up behind him too. So these two might look to work together a bit, try and carve through the pack and make their way back up. Looks like for the time being, Warren is going to be behind Worley, with that Ferrari just having some superior pace at this point in the race.
Yeah, it seems that way. It's very difficult to sort of tell how you're going to go in a field that's as mixed as this, especially if you're new to the cars and you're still trying to get used to the state of play of things. But it seems like these guys are getting themselves sorted, as Dane Warren and John Peasnick are once again together. Have a look at Peasnick. He's running that interesting double apex line through the hairpin, but Warren, once again, seems a bit more in control of his car. This could turn spicy.
Yeah, Peasnick had to have a couple of stabs at it there at the hairpin to actually get it turned in, but El Nabi and Warren behind him could just take that nice flowing movement in there. So he's struggling a bit with that Ford and getting it going the way he wants to, but obviously he's doing enough where he needs to be to keep in front of Warren and El Nabi. So he's still out front there. These guys are very close. There have been a couple of moments where El Nabi has nearly gone down the inside of Warren in an attempt to outbrake him, but they're staying line of stern for the time being. But Warren makes up a bit of time through the right-hander there, but not enough, as Peasnick runs off the track a little bit there. He's clearly pushing to try and get the most out of this Ford and show that the Ford still has what it takes to be up the top.
Yeah, but you got to really work hard to get it up there, as we are seeing. Peasnick struggling to keep that car doing consistent lines through a lot of these corners. So I don't know, man. He'll have to put on a masterclass of defending if he wants to keep Warren and El Nabi behind him.
Yeah, you're definitely right there. And we saw him run a little bit wide on the run to the straight there compared to Warren and El Nabi. And
that's not good.
Warren's got a bit of a run here. He may try to throw it down the inside, and he is going to give it a shot, and he's managed to pull that up. El Nabi wanted to take a stab at it too, but he's going to have to fall back in behind for the time being. So Warren is through on Peasnick at the moment. El Nabi is now the one behind Peasnick, as Warren is going to aim to try and pull ahead, now moving up into 5th place.
Yeah, that's what Warren really wants to do right now. Just maximize his pace for now. He's spent enough time behind Peasnick. Now he's got a relatively clear track up ahead of him. He's got Jacob Schooley just up ahead, who is actually running a few tenths slower than these guys at the moment. So who knows when or if they're going to catch up to him before the pit stops.
Yeah, Schooley's having a bit of trouble. He's just run a bit wide there. I think he's probably copped some damage from that contact with Brenton Hawkins. And like you said, he is running a few tenths slower than the guys behind, and he has dropped right off the back of Briggs, Gasul and Winkleman, considering he was right up on the back of the Gasul before that contact. So he's doing well to manage 4th now, but Dane has got quite a bit of speed behind him. And yeah, we'll be looking to certainly capitalise on that coming into this, where we're nearly halfway through the race already.
Yeah, wow, it is actually flown by once again. But another battle that we should be keeping an eye on now that Warren is basically out of the picture is the battle between Forzan El Nabi and John Peasnick. I feel like El Nabi is tempted to do the same thing that Warren did. A bit of a late move from El Nabi, but he's managed to get through. Peasnick running wide. I think he's accepted the fact that he is not able to keep those guys behind him. And I think from now on, Peasnick will be looking to run his own race, because El Nabi, he's lost a few car lengths to Dane Warren in those last few laps, and will probably be wanting to get onto the back of him once again, pressure him possibly for 5th position.
Yeah, I think you're very right there. And Peasnick, he's still doing laps that are faster than Thomas Hinz behind him. So he's still got the pace on Hinsey there. So should at this point in time be able to maintain 7th place, which is still respectable and 1 position up on where he started. So he's still doing well considering where he qualified, but obviously not the pace he was hoping to have in the Ford tonight considering these people passing him.
Yes, indeed. Shannon Mason versus Cameron Dance, round 2, same place on the circuit.
Oh, they've made contact there, have they?
No, I don't think so. I think it was very close, but Mason had to back out slightly just to keep that tight line. But now he's going to try and pass Dance back, or at least he certainly hopes so. As they come through into McLean's corner, Dance with a much better mid-corner speed. Mason has lost a car length or so to him in that small space of time. So Dance has managed to get through on Mason this time, and he'll definitely be hoping that he stays ahead.
Yeah, well, after that scary moment, I'd say a bit of a brown racesuit after that one, Dance has managed to gather it all back up, make that time back up and get the pass done. So that puts him up into 13th place now, which is 3 positions up on where he started. We usually see Dance moving through the pack a bit more, but he sort of got shuffled out at the start there. So in this next half of the race, we should keep an eye on him because I think he'll be trying to make some big moves to try and make it up in that top 10 as we see him do quite regularly.
Yeah, certainly. I think that's been a characteristic of Dance's driving in this series so far. We saw his monumental climb from the field through Silverstone, and you can say for sure that's one of his strengths, is being able to make up positions in races. So I'm interested to see where he can end up in this race, as you said, especially after the lap 1 shenanigans. Just behind them, the battle for 15th and 16th, Benjamin Johnson and Richard Hunter looks quite interesting. Johnson and Hunter, they're very close on lap times, and they got pretty close into Redgate. Seems to me like Johnson has the measure of Hunter through this section.
Yeah, Johnson's just pulling ahead a bit, and it's interesting. We're getting these battles between Mercedes and BMW, or Ferrari and McLaren, and it's showing...
Sorry, Brock. James McKee has just gone off at Old Hairpin in a very spectacular fashion. Looks to me like we got a Cup Price Racing replay up on screen at the moment. He just took a little bit too much grass in Craner curves, and that unsettled his car, and he basically did a 180, going backwards through the gravel trap at Old Hairpin. Very fortunate to keep it out of the wall.
Yeah, that's a bit of a scary moment there. Would have closed his eyes and hoped that he come out not hitting the wall there, so his car's not damaged. He's just lost a few positions. So, like you said, very lucky to not have hit the wall there and totaled the back of his car and potentially totaled the car for the night.
Yes, indeed. He looks like Ethan Warren's dropped as well. He's defending in that McLaren against Benjamin Johnson, but looks like that's been unsuccessful. I'm going to rewind a bit and see exactly what happened to Warren. It looks to me like, he ran wide, very wide at the Melbourne hairpin.
Yeah, which is not hard to do, and I feel like the McLaren's, like I was saying earlier, is a bit of a hard car to drive, and he's really pushing hard, but maybe not adopting the correct driving style to really maximise the speed in the car.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's I'll tell you what, it was one hell of a late apex, that's for sure.
Yeah, you could say that again.
Unfortunately, I don't think it benefited him that much, but Ethan Warren knocked back slightly too. Oh, goodness me. He hasn't really shaken himself free of these guys, has he? As Hunter and Johnson, they've really gotten into each other since Warren's gotten into the picture.
Yeah, well, Warren sort of, I guess, backed them up a little bit, and now he's ahead a little bit there with some very brave driving through that section of the track, but now he's going to stay ahead for the time being, and Hunter and Johnson are going to be left to fight it out in the same positions they were before.
Yes, indeed. Mark Simon on screen at the moment. He has gone off at the chicane. What on earth happened to him? Looks like another case of a driver losing it on their own. Just caught the grass coming into the chicane and unsettled him. Bit of an open-shut case, that one, as we have a CPR Kart and Sim Parts replay up on screen. So, Simon down from 19th to 21st.
Yeah, but got Dane and Forzan El Nabi are going to be up on screen. They're battling it out pretty hard here after they've dropped on Peasnick off of this train. They were together as well behind Peasnick and trying to both get past, and now these guys are battling for a top 5 position here. Dane's shown some good speed, but El Nabi was right there with him waiting to get by Peasnick. So these two are going to be good to watch in the coming laps as pit stops start to unfold as well.
Yeah, have a look at El Nabi there under brakes. He was really pushing it. Unfortunately, he lost out a bit on corner exit, but yeah, you're 100% right, Brock. The pit window is coming up, and it looks like El Nabi is going to be one of the first to jump in. So this will be interesting. Will Dane Warren respond to this?
Potentially. I don't think he's going to want to be undercut here, and although tyres aren't a big thing, fuel in this series, different fuel levels in the different cars, as well as some people being able to fuel save compared to others not, means that, a second or two gained in the pits is all you need to jump somebody during the pit cycle. So we may well see Dane Warren in next lap to cover off Forzan El Nabi.
We'll see. It's a long stop for Forzan El Nabi. He didn't get off as quickly as he would probably have liked. Next in the pits, Ethan Warren. So he's made his way in.
Yeah, so he's just probably just trying to get some of the shenanigans, as you said earlier, of the race out of the way from this first half with some of that battling and get some clear air and get back out on track and try put in some good lap times and back up his solid qualifying performance.
I tell you what, even worse for Forzan El Nabi, he's come out of the pits right behind Richard Hunter, and I can tell in the body language of Forzan's car, he's not really a fan of being right up with Hunter here. He would have desired some clean air, and he's made a very forceful move up the inside, just trying to get a little bit of clear air there, try and get some pace. Let's look at Dane Warren. He hasn't pitted, so Warren still staying out for another lap.
Yeah, Warren's really reeling in these Briggs and Schooley teammates here. He's pulling them in fast and may just want to try and bring them in a little bit more before he pits so that when he comes out of the pit lane, his job isn't quite as hard. But he does have to watch El Nabi. As we said, he has speed, and if he gets out of this little battle pack that he's in at the moment, he may be able to pip Dane Warren, depending on how much speed that Mercedes has.
Ethan Warren has gone a lap down with a 40-second stop. We're hearing that's not good for Ethan at all.
No, unfortunately not. It's just not his night tonight in that McLaren GT3 car, so he's really dropped down the order and is now in 29th position. And yeah, had a massively long stop, 40 seconds in the pit lane, where we're seeing other people are having about 10-second pit stops.
Yeah, also pitting very recently, Craig Edwards and Ross Rizzo. They're out together at the moment, so... Wait, hold on a minute. Have they pitted? I'm really sorry. They have. Just getting a bit of confirmation there from the director. I was a bit unsure because it occurred to me that Edwards did have his trouble on lap 1, so I didn't know if him being out of sync with qualifying position was anything to do with that, but...
Edwards and Dane Warren in the pits too.
Yep. So there we go. That is going to be the deciding factor in the El Nabi battle. Now, it'll be interesting to see how Dane Warren goes here. His car gets banged out and repaired, so he has a nice, fresh front end of that BMW. Let's monitor El Nabi.
Yeah, and Dane Warren is now moving again as El Nabi.
Wow.
Yeah, he's on the move, and El Nabi's coming around now.
Goodness me. That was really good for Warren, but he's going to come out right in the midst of this battle between Cam Dance and Shannon Mason. So I don't know how this is going to go.
Yeah, I have a feeling Dance is going to want to defend his position, but Warren is going to want to get on the move and try and get away from El Nabi so he can continue on with his race. But definitely has jumped El Nabi there. Warren's pit stop was 3 seconds faster than what El Nabi's was in the end there. So potentially different fuel levels, and also maybe a miscalculation on fuel by El Nabi there has left him high and dry, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a crazy gap, and it wasn't helped by El Nabi's exit into traffic as he goes up the inside of Aaron O'Brien on the exit of McLean's. So now it's up to El Nabi to try and maximize his pace here, because Warren Well, him being behind Dance at this stage is certainly hurting him, so I'm pretty sure El Nabi will be seeing this and hoping that Dance keeps Warren behind him for at least another lap or so. Don't know how
Yeah,
long that's going to last.
yeah. Well, as we know, Dance is a very hard driver to pass because he's very determined to get to the best position in the field that he can. So, even though Dance is a bit out of sync here with Dane Warren, he's still going to want to push hard and try and make sure that he can maintain that position as best as possible. So Dance hasn't gone into the pit lane this time round either. So Warren's just going to have to keep a smile on his face and grin and bear it until he can try and push the pass on Dance here.
Well, we've got a 10-second penalty for Ross Rizzo from the administrators for, oh, goodness me, a little bit of contact between Warren and Dance there. Seems like Warren may have been caught out by the lack of mid-corner speed there from Dance, but the 10-second penalty for Ross Rizzo will be applied after the race. I'm not sure what the reason is for the penalty. Unsafe rejoin, we're hearing, so I'm unsure what that would be. Would that be something to do with his entry from lap 1, I suppose?
I'd say so. It was pretty crazy in that lap. So he may have just come on the circuit back into a line of traffic and nearly taken out a few people, and there goes 10 seconds. So we'll have to keep that in mind and see at the end of the race where he ends up, as Warren is going for the pass on Dance at the hairpin. Dance is going to try and stick with him here, but I think it's actually going to be close. Dance is probably going to try and have the inside line here into the final turn, and he is. So that was well done by Dance to stick around the outside there and keep that going. And Warren is just going to have to stick in behind for another lap and try again.
How good was that exit from Dance? That's great.
Yeah, that was a pretty awesome move from Dance there to maintain that position.
Yes, indeed. Hearing Jacob Schooley, something about Schooley. He's pitted. Looks like he's now got a big gap ahead of Dane Warren, so obviously a very good pit stop from Jacob.
Yeah, I'm just having a quick look at his... he did 11.2 second pit stop, and Dane Warren was 13.5 seconds. So Schooley's got another 2 seconds faster than Warren, while Warren was 3 seconds faster than El Nabi. So some varying pit stop times here. Edwards and Rizzo have both done their pit stops, and 8.5 seconds and 9.3 seconds were their pit stop times. So a lot of variation in the amount of time that cars are spending stopped and fueling in the pit lane tonight, Reese.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting because even though the GT3s use fuel at different rates and have different sized fuel tanks, part of the balance of performance is making sure that the refueling rates are balanced. So seeing that, here comes Dane again though on Dance, and we'll see if he makes the move stick this time. He's been able to get ahead of Dance at the mid-corner, so it looks like he's got it this time.
Yeah, you saw he sort of blocked off the exit from Dance there and tried to cover the middle of the track as best as he could to make sure Dance couldn't get that run. So he's going to stay out in front for the time being, but Dance is right up behind him coming down the main straight here, so we'll see whether a move is made. He's looking a little bit, but it's going to stick in behind for the time being. So we'll see what happens here. Dance, just got to remember, Dance and Warren are actually out of sync with each other. So Warren has pitted, but Dance currently has not. So he's still going to fall down the order a little bit. And Warren was fighting to get by to try and chase down the next man on his list, which is Jacob Schooley.
Yeah, that said, with the pace that Dance has, you got to wonder how would he have been if he hadn't had his off on lap 1.
Dance definitely would have been further up the field, that's for sure. If he hadn't had sort of been pushed around a bit. And Warren actually benefited from the fact that people were all over the place on lap 1 and made up a few spots. He started in 11th place. And we've got Winkleman into the pit lane as well now, and Adam Briggs has followed him in.
All right, so things get very interesting now here up the front. Reese Gasul wondering what he's going to do in response to this, but Winkleman is now off, and that looked like a very quick pit stop from Winkleman. Extremely quick, actually.
9.6 seconds, so one of the fastest we've seen tonight.
Yeah, how about Briggs's pit stop? He seemed to have stayed still for a little longer.
Yeah, Briggs was 11.7 seconds. So that was a couple of seconds, and has been passed by Schooley as well. So Schooley's slower had a slightly slower pit stop, but looks like to have had the speed to have jumped Briggs there. So these teammates, they were together last round and they're together again, but Schooley had been hanging behind Briggs because of that damage, but now has actually pipped him through the pit cycle.
Yes, indeed, but that is not going to be good for Schooley.
Bang,
Oh,
in
he's
the
in the
wall.
wall. Oh, man. Oh, how would you be? I think that, does that count as commentator's curse? It must.
I think so. I think that's commentator's curse. We're sorry,
Jacob. Goodness me. That is, oh, that really sucks for him, though. Just running off a little bit into the grass and losing that rear traction. It's never a nice thing to have happen to you, especially when you've got tyre walls as close as they are at Donington. So, Jacob Schooley, I was about to say what a good drive from him. Unfortunately, it's not to be.
Yeah, well, it's that commentator's curse, isn't it? We were just saying how well he'd done to get ahead of Briggs, and yet it's so easy just to get a little bit wide at that corner. We've seen so many drivers do it tonight and been lucky, and unfortunately Schooley is the unlucky participant in tonight's race that has gotten wide and paid the price for it.
Yes, indeed. Well, in the midst of all of these incidents, looks like Dane Warren and Cameron Dance have stretched the gap out between them a little bit more. Forzan El Nabi and Shannon Mason seemed like El Nabi just passed Mason on the exit there.
Yeah, Mason seems to have lost a bit of speed. He was hanging with Dance quite well, but he's dropped right off Dance and Warren there. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. Maybe a hardware issue or slowdown. And just thought I'd say we haven't had Gasol or Peasnick in the pit lane yet, so we're still waiting on those two lead guys to pop in and see where they come out of the pits.
Yeah, well, Reece Gasol is just negotiating the last turn now, so we'll see if he stays left, and he does. There we go. So eyes will be on Winkelman at this stage, as behind Gasol entering the pits also Neil De Bruyne from 23rd position. Peasnick in as well. So let's see how the top of the field looks after this. We're on board with Anthony Winkelman as he comes across the start-finish line, and that is going to be, almost close, but he manages to keep the lead from Gasol.
Yeah, in the end there, Gasol his stop was actually faster than Winkelman's, but we've seen all night tonight Winkelman has just had a bit more speed under him, and once he got by Gasol, he just pulled out. We've got Peasnick and Dane as well. Dane's looks like Peasnick has just pipped him there, so Dane is going to have to fight hard all over again to try and get that position back from Peasnick.
That's exactly right. Well, they haven't got very long to have this battle decided. It's, well, I think we are now about 35 minutes into the race, so we're in the dying stages now as the guys at the top of the field have completed their pit stops. It's going to be an out-and-out race to the end. And this Warren versus Peasnick battle could get a little spicier because they have a lapped car in front of them in the form of Neil De Bruyne. And wow, have a look at Peasnick. Goodness me, that was a very deep entry into Copper's Corner. He's flashing his lights at Neil De Bruyne. I think he was expecting De Bruyne to let him by.
Yeah, that was very close there. Nearly race ending for both of those gentlemen. But look at Dane now. He's right up on the back of Peasnick there. And Peasnick, again, looking on De Bruyne, trying to get through again. And looks like he might get him, but De Bruyne does not make it horribly easy until now. But Warren is right on the back of Peasnick there. These guys have about 6.5 minutes to battle it out and decide who's going to take fourth and who's going to take fifth in this race.
Yeah, and you got to remember, this is only the end of Peasnick's first lap out of the pits, so he's got to get used to having a bit more fuel in his car once again. But Dane Warren is in a rhythm. He's able to get a little bit more pace out of that car at this exact stage. So I'll have a look at Peasnick. It looks like he's just struggling a little bit with the balance of his car through Redgate, but Warren not having too good of a time either, just running out on the grass slightly. Coming down through to Old Hairpin. Let's see who is the best man out of here. Peasnick doing what he's done for most of the race, going off into the grass out of Old Hairpin. Somehow he is able to keep that thing going. But Dane Warren, you can see Warren is so much superior in this section of the track.
Yeah, he is real Peasnick in from turn one, where both of them had a bit of an issue there. So Dane is a bit tighter through this section of the track, not running quite as wide, and he will get right on the back of the Ford GT here. Now, the BMW doesn't have a great engine in it compared to some of the other cars, so Warren may just keep this for the next hairpin, and it looks like he has. He's still going to be right there with Peasnick, and we may see a move down the inside here, which is where Warren has done most of his passing, but Peasnick defends there. He knows this race does not have long to go, and he wants to keep this fourth position here. He has worked bloody hard for it tonight.
He certainly has, and on the subject of the chicane, Warren was very correct, I think, to stay behind through there, because I think in a previous layout of Donington Park, that chicane would have been a place to attempt to pass, but it was recently made faster, and that is where the iRacing scan dates from. It's not as much of a passing opportunity as it used to be. You've got to be very brave to do one there. So they come through Redgate once again, and Warren right on the back of Peasnick now. They are much closer than they were this time last lap. Peasnick really struggling, I think, with the rears on that Ford GT. You could tell the car is just moments away from snapping, and now Warren right on the bumper. Oh no, Winkelmann's lost the lead.
And he's missing his bonnet as well.
Oh my lord, what has gone on here?
This race is going off with 4 minutes to go in the race. It is all happening tonight, Reese.
He got into the dirt, did Anthony Winkelmann, and just lost the rear. Basically did what Schooley did, but at a different point. So, wow.
Damn it, Donington.
That is heartbreaking for Anthony Winkelmann. That means that Reese Gasol has resumed the lead of the race as we go back live. John Peasnick versus Dane Warren. Peasnick going very defensive now into the hairpin, but Warren with the dive of the century around the outside, he's not able to hold it. They make contact. Little bit of contact. You can tell Warren is desperate for this third, now second position.
Yeah, he is pushing hard, and we've got Winkelmann in the pit lane too, so these guys are going to pick up another position here, and they're still going to battle it out. This is now going to be for third and fourth in the race. Warren is going to want this position. This is going to mean a podium for him, I believe, so it's all on here. We've got a few laps left tonight, and Warren has been close, but Peasnick is placing his car very strategically to make sure that Warren cannot get by. Not doing anything illegal or anything like that, but being very smart in the way he places his car, like at the hairpin. What we see here, Warren makes up so much time under brakes into that right-hander, and then through these curves here, he is just immensely good, and the BMW really reels the back in of this Ford GT.
Yeah, and through this turn at McLean's, you can tell it just tightens up a little bit towards the exit, and the BMW likes that so much more than the Ford. Coppice, about the opposite. Tight start and very sweeping end. But it looks like Warren is not as close to Peasnick this time. The chicane, though, is crucial. We've seen Peasnick struggling slightly through here all night. How are they going to go through here this time? It looks like Warren is now the one struggling with a bit of rear-end grip. He's starting to lose it. What he needs to do, he hasn't got much time left, but he just needs to cool off slightly, get his tyres back in order, and then he can have a proper lunge.
Yeah, that's it. He just needs to take a breath. Peasnick may have the jump on him on this lap, but they still have, I'd say, 2 or 3 laps left to go, maybe 4 here. So they've still got quite a bit of time. Dane's just got to, reel him back in a little bit there and stay right on the back of him, like we've seen a few drivers do tonight. And like Winkelmann did with Gasol, pressure him into a mistake or just throw it down the inside when they're least expecting it, obviously when the move's on. So this will be interesting to see, and this is for podium positions now, so the stakes here just got even higher.
And I tell you what else is happening. Look who is coming up slowly in the background. Forzan Elnabi and Anthony Winkelmann. Both of these guys incredibly fast at the moment. Forzan's last lap was a 25.9 versus mid-26s from Peasnick and Warren. So of course, with Winkelmann, our ex-leader, in the background as well, this could become a 4-way battle right at the end of the race.
Oh man, Donington's turned it on for us in these last few minutes. I mean, the whole race has been good, but this is just getting crazy now. So we've seen Elnabi messed up the pit stop there with a long pit stop and gave away so much time, and he's reeled them back in. And Winkelmann with a brand new repaired car there, just trying to show the pace. And probably the red mist has descended a little bit. Frustration at that mistake. So these guys, like you said, it's going to turn into a 4-way battle for third place.
how exciting is this? OSC once again turning it on as they come on to start lap 30. You can see they are slowly bunching up as they cross the line and get down to Redgate Corner once again. Tell you what, as this battle is going on though, how about Adam Briggs? He's been pretty quiet for most of this race, hasn't really made any spectacular moves, hasn't caused much drama, but there he is, sitting safely in second place. That's a very good drive from him.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And we saw he had some pace out at Silverstone with Schoolie as well. And these guys in their gold and black Audis, they just chip away nice and quietly. And like you said, he hasn't had any spectacular moves or anything. He's just been consistent, and consistency is the key. So, well done to Adam Briggs so far. With only a few laps left now, he'll be hoping he can make it to the end in this second place and keep that. He's got a fair gap to the battle that's ensuing behind him. Out in the clean, no lap cars getting in his way. It should be a nice Sunday drive to the end here, Reese.
Certainly should. Speaking of that battle, it's about to hot up because Piesnik just messed up the chicane and Warren has a run. It's going to be another defensive move from John Piesnik here as El Nabi is now right in this. This is now a three-way battle. Winkleman might make his presence known in a few minutes as well. So here we go. 2 laps to go. We have 2 laps to go here at Donington Park, and this battle is only just getting started, I feel.
Yeah, these guys, they've got 2 laps to make it or break it, basically. If they want that podium, it's now or never, basically. So, both Piesnik and Dane there sort of went a bit funky through that chicane, but Dane's right on the back of Piesnik again through this section, and the key is staying there, even with the aero wash and the different braking points. He's got to stay with him and try and get him into one of the heavier braking zones using the power of the BMW under brakes.
Yeah, certainly, but his best place to do that is down at the hairpin where Piesnik knows the score and he's always moved over to the right-hand side of the circuit in preparation for it. So Warren has to watch out for that. Maybe on the last lap, he'll try a bit of a dive into the hairpin, into the chicane, sorry, but Philip Worley is now off the track and ooh, a little bit of a drama
done
there.
What Jacob Schoolie did. He's luckily caught it, but it was a near miss there.
Certainly was. Back to the battle for third place. Looks like Warren has lost a little bit of time to Piesnik on the exit, but he's still having a little bit of a look up the inside. El Nabi slotting in on the outside there. Tell you what, Winkleman hasn't caught up as much as I thought he would.
No, he's sort of in the back there. You'd think he'd want to try claw back some points here. He came so close last season to grabbing the championship against Ross Rizzo, so you'd think he'd want to go for it again. Last lap now is as Piesnik, Warren and El Nabi are separated by barely a hair. These guys are fighting it out for third position in this race after a long battle. All of them have made up positions. They are fighting hard after mistakes and after carnage in this race, Reese. This is going to be an awesome end.
It certainly is, but it could all go wrong at the drop of a hair. John Piesnik running a bit wide, an old hairpin, a little bit of a snap, and now Dane Warren again right on the bumper. Is he going to try a move here into McLean's? I don't think so. There's a bit of dirt on the inside, but now Piesnik has run wide, and he's out into the grass, and that's going to let them through. Piesnik losing 2 positions in that one little short straight. So that is third place almost decided, but Dane Warren still has to defend from Forzan El Nabi, who now has a little bit of a sniff at a potential podium position. You saw El Nabi weaving down the straight, and now they come through into the chicane. This last little passing...
Watch John Piesnik here.
Yeah. Well, Gasol, meanwhile, takes the victory. Very good drive from him, but this battle is still not decided. Winkleman and Piesnik now side by side, and the last-ditch effort from Forzan El Nabi is unsuccessful. Dane Warren is going to take third place now, but Winkleman going up the inside of Piesnik. Who is going to win this drag race between Trick Sim Sports and Element? It looks like Piesnik.
Oh. 700ths of a second there. That is nothing. That is a thumbnail. That was intense there.
Meanwhile, Thomas Hens and Joshua Skin, have a look at that. Contact.
Oh, there's contact there.
Wow.
Skin's shuffled Hinsey out wide there and just gotten him on the exit. So
Leighton Fine and Cam Dan. Goodness me. Looks like a little bit of biffo going on back there between those two Audis. Dance just trying a last-ditch maneuver into the last corner. CPR Kart and Simparts replay. That was for position 15, I believe. So Dance just running a little too deep and forcing Fine off the track, it seems. Or maybe that was started when Fine made a bit of side-by-side contact with Dance, just sent him sliding a little bit. I don't know. That seems like a bit of a racing incident to me.
Yeah, we all know race drivers hold grudges as well. So these guys, last lap, it was win it or bin it sort of stuff here. So Audi v Audi, it looks like it's just, like you said, a racing incident trying to get to the best position you can before the race ends.
Yes, indeed. And the battle between Ross Rizzo and Craig Edwards ended up with Rizzo taking 7th place, just ahead of Edwards. So that was an interesting conclusion to that as well. Looked like Edwards tried a few moves on the last lap, but ultimately it was for naught. So there we go. That is the race finished. Reese Gasul is your race victor. Adam Briggs, an excellent drive in 2nd place. And Dane Warren, big climb from 11th to 3rd to complete the podium. Forzen El Nabi in 4th with John Piesnick in 5th. Anthony Winkelman, a story of what could have been. If he hadn't had that incident, he may well have walked away with a dominant victory here. Craig Edwards in 8th. Ross Rizzo in 7th. Craig Edwards in 8th. Martin Silvassi in 9th. And rounding out the top 10, Philip Worley.
And we've got Scott Cisleowski in 11th, Joshua Skin in 12th, it's showing on my screen, Thomas Hinz 13th, Cameron Dance 14th, Leighton Fine 15th, Dan King in 16th, Richard Hunter 17th, Reese Keane in 18th, Mr. Jeremy Washington in 19th, and Shannon Mason rounding out the top 20.
Benjamin Johnson finishing in 21st position with Daniel Misdale in 22nd, Mark Haggerarts in 23rd. And the first of your non-lead lap finishes, Mark Simon, then followed by Neil De Bruyne, James McKee, Edward Morgan, Aaron O'Brien, and then Ethan Warren, 8 laps down in 29th. And your retirees to complete the field, Jacob Schooley, real shame for him, Matt Morris, Brenton Hawkins, Damon Stockton, and Ricky Cornwall. That is your field for Donington Park here in the Oceanic Sprint Championship. Wow, what an event that was.
Yeah, got to take a breath after that one. That was a great race there, and these guys really showed us how it's done, and the pressure from the likes of El Nabi and Warren on Piesnick, and the way that race ended up going. I wouldn't have predicted that at the start of this race, but OSC is the championship that just keeps on giving.
Certainly is, and one driver that has really benefited from this round is one that we have in the commentary box with us right now. Welcome, Adam Briggs, and congratulations on your 2nd place. That was a very good drive from you. It seemed very quiet.
Yeah, Reese, I think I got very, very lucky. It sort of all opened up in front of me. Jacob, my teammate, had an absolutely fantastic run. He was dead set quicker than me. The setup I was using tonight was something that he developed. So hard luck to him, but and there's quite a number of hard luck stories, actually, to be honest, as well.
Yeah, certainly was. It seemed like most drivers had trouble with rear end grip, especially coming out of old hairpin and other stuff like that. But I guess it turned out extremely well for you, especially from a 7th place start. How was lap 1 from your perspective? It seemed like there was quite a bit of drama.
Yeah, came through turn 1. There were a couple of guys concertinaed on the outside of the curb. I stuck to the inside. And I think someone got turned or sort of pit maneuvered in front of me. I just caught them with my my left front. I carried that damage until the pit stop. But yeah, I think I went from 7th to 4th through the first corner phase. It was just hectic.
Well, at the end of the day, Adam, you survived and finished in the 2nd spot on the podium. So once again, congratulations. But moving on to the rest of the season from here, it's definitely helped your championship standings, and it doesn't look like the standings are current at the moment, but I am seeing you knocking on the door of the top 5 in the championship standings. So especially considering that all of your main competitors, the guys ahead of you in the championship, have finished behind you in this round, it'll certainly help you. And Spa is the next round. So are you looking to bolster that?
Yeah, Spa's a great track. It's difficult. It's a driver's track. It's also, you've got a bit of drafting up across the top of the circuit as well. But for the better part, it's a driver's circuit. So I think we'll see. It'll be hotly contested. I didn't expect to finish in front of Winkleman and Rizzo and Edwards, but those guys had a bit of a hard run today. So I'll take it while I can.
Excellent stuff, Adam. Well, thank you very much for joining us in the commentary box, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you very much.
That was Adam Briggs there for DPR Racing, your second place finisher, and it seems like that is going to be our only interviewee for tonight, Brock. So it looks like it might be time to wrap this up. It was a very good round.
Yeah, you never know what to expect when you come into the Oceanic Sprint Championship, and we're only in round 4 of 10 at the moment, and these guys, they put on the racing every round no matter what track we go to, and no matter whether it's Silverstone style with the long flowing Grand Prix style of circuit, or Donington, which is a tighter, faster sort of circuit. So I'm keen for next round. I'm keen to see how some of these championship contenders can turn around and try and make amends for some of the mistakes and some of the races they've had in the last couple of rounds. So yeah, it's been fun.
It certainly has. We are going to end this broadcast here, but it's not going to be over on V8's Online. We've got a bumper month of March coming up in this second half of the month. Not only have we got the majors to race this weekend, Silver Crown, that's going to be a fantastic event, but we've also got more rounds of the V8 Supercar Online Premier Series to catch up on, see how this championship battle goes. But we'll be back in the Oceanic Sprint Championship in 2 weeks' time at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Same time, same day of the week, 2 weeks from now. Make sure to be there. Thank you very much for joining us here on V8's Online for our coverage of GT Leagues Australia's Oceanic Sprint Championship. Round 4 at Donington Park, won by Reece Gasoul. We'll see you next time.